Sandow or Damian Sandow.
I could see him with them, but I feel like maybe they need a female piece in there. Maybe I know
But
they
who?
won't.
The only female that has been
Natalya.
really is Natalya, but she just doesn't fit that group.
No.
A more of a Paige.
Paige maybe
would
but,
fit that
but
group.
Isn't she kind of like face now? So who?
Yeah.
Maybe a Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch probably.
Because she's kind of the odd female out the way she is and all. But hey, I like the way she dresses.
I just don't. The entire time, just don't make them a joke. Don't do this where you're making them a joke. Let's see if they can actually get fan reaction. Because if you can remember, the New Day was taken as a joke.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing with New Day, they kind of were allowed to be themselves.
That's
so
the
to
thing.
speak.
Let these guys be themselves.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, and see where it can lead. I mean, they already have a T-shirt made, so you know they're probably going to be around for a little while. Why not see if it takes off? And then, because it seems like now we're going back to the days with more than one faction. If you remember for a while, there wasn't many factions. Maybe one or two, like you had Evolution. You had...
The Four Horsemen.
Yeah, Four Horsemen. I'm talking about like mid-2000s on. There wasn't many factions going on.
Right.
And then in the Attitude...
Evolution was really... Weren't they the only ones, really?
Yeah, pretty much. And then, I mean, Shawn Michaels came back, and then they had DX come back, like version 2.0. But you had a lot of tag teams, but you didn't have many factions. But in the 90s, when the Attitude Era, you had a ton of factions. You had the Job Squad. You had...
Corporation,
Ministry, DX, the Oddities. All these guys just... all teaming up together. And then you had the one guy who really wasn't with anybody, and that was your champion. When Stone Cold, he kind of lived by the DTA, don't trust anybody type. And then you had guys like Mankind or Dude Love, whatever the hell he wanted to be that day.
Cactus Jack.
Yeah. And you had him go up against people, and it was actually fun and entertaining and actually exciting to watch because they weren't a joke. The Nation of Domination, another one that just came to my head. So why not actually take them a little bit more serious, I guess, and see what they could do? Because I actually enjoyed the
Remember,
Attitude
they
Era.
took the Nation of Domination and split them into 3 groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because Savio Vega was in there, and he made Los Boricuas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Crush was in there, and he made the biker group, which I can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't. I know what you're talking. I see, like, I picture them right now.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always been group, but like, if they're a group, shouldn't they be beating up on somebody, even if it's a lower card? Why don't you have them? Why don't you have them beat up people on main event?
Yeah.
Or Superstars, or have them go down to NXT and put a beat down on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be the stars of something else.
Yeah. I mean,
they can invade NXT
because
they're social outcasts.
They're not. It's not a circus. You're not there to see Comedy Hour. I mean, yeah, granted, there's some things that are funny, but after a while, you don't want the cheesy funny. After that gets real tired real fast. And maybe if anybody in WWE land is listening to this podcast, take it for what it is and listen to us. We have some ideas here.
Even how seriously do you take the League of Nations?
I don't take them seriously.
Are they a part of the Authority or like?
Are they their own group? Like, we don't know. But speaking of League of Nations, will they even be lasting? Because as I see on your computer, there's a picture of Sheamus with a cast on his arm.
Another injury.
To me,
but what the update is that he just was suffering tendinitis in his arm. He will only be missing a few weeks.
But see, that to me that gives us another spot open for somebody up and coming. Because Sheamus is kind of, I just don't find him that entertaining.
You don't find him entertaining, but for some reason you'll always find him at the end of the Royal Rumble.
Because he's Triple H's boy. For some reason, the two of them are very close to one another, and that could be the reason why.
Another injury, as we segue now into NXT, Hideo Itami can just not get out of his own way. He suffered a setback, and he will not be returning anytime soon.
That's a disappointment because he's a fun wrestler to watch. Oh, excuse me, superstar.
He was out since May of last year.
Yeah, because he was in that Battle Royal Invitational for the Andre the Giant one in the Wrestlemania, and then he got hurt like pretty soon after that.
I just want him to come back so I can see him do the GTS, man. Someone's got to bring the GTS back.
Did you see? I saw on the internet the other day. I don't know if this is legit, if they're actually dating or what, but there was a picture of Sasha Banks holding his hand. Like they're at a little, I don't know if they're at a ceremony or what, but she has her hand holding his hand. And not like the friendship kind of hand way, like, you know, when you got interlocked. I don't know.
I like how you describe that.
Hey, this is radio. You gotta describe things.
You guys out there, you fans out there, the Loganator is very good at being descriptive.
I am. I took creative writing. Take that note, WWE.
Maybe we'll find out in Total Divas on 2018 or something.
Maybe
should we put in Total Divas?
Oh.
Speaking of NXT, one wrestler might be making his move quite possibly after WrestleMania. You've mentioned his name, but Samoa Joe making his move to the main roster.
I would like to see that. I mean, he's up there in age in wrestling years. Not regular years, but wrestling years. And he's a known name. People know who he is. He was in TNA. He was a TNA champion multiple times. When TNA was at their peak of their height, whatever you want to call it. When people actually knew what TNA was, and they could actually find them on a channel instead of, oh, they're on Pop TV.
There was 3 wrestlers that I always said, boy, I would love to see them in the WWE. That was Samoa Joe,
yep,
AJ Styles, and Jay Lethal. 2 out of the 3 are now with the WWE. The other one we'll get into a little later on.
I had 4 or 5. I had Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Jay Lethal, Austin Aries, and Christopher Daniels. I always liked him.
Well, Austin Aries.
Even Kazarian is a good wrestler.
Let's get into Austin Aries because he was at the taping. He was announced. And you know what's funny? I see them post this stuff, and I think it's going to happen on that episode when I watch.
3 weeks from now.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that because I only just started really getting into NXT. I've watched the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So when I saw them talk about Austin Aries and now Nakamura, I thought maybe it'll be on this episode, and it wasn't. I was like, what's going on? But they're taped for March.
Yeah, they're pulling a page out of TNA's book. They're posting stuff saying, oh, it's going to happen. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, wait a minute. Didn't they say that back in February? End of January? Well, I don't know what's going on here. But that's going to be exciting to see.
What do you think of those 2 signings?
Great.
Austin Aries, a star.
He's phenomenal.
Do you think either Austin Aries or Nakamura should have went straight up to the WWE like AJ Styles? Or was AJ Styles a bigger star than either of them?
Well, here's the thing. Austin Aries, I feel, he's a star, but only if you leave your little comfort zone of WWE. If you don't leave the comfort zone of WWE, you have no idea who Austin Aries is. That goes the same for Nakamura. And we've had the privilege to see him wrestle live at a Ring of Honor event, which was spectacular, I must add.
Yeah, when he main event with Adam Cole.
But
boy, man.
If I were to pick, I would pick Nakamura, I think, because he's a seasoned veteran, I guess you could say. But the only downfall is there's so many talks about online how Vince McMahon likes to just disregard anything that happened outside of WWE. If you were fought in New Japan, that doesn't exist. If you fought in TNA, it really doesn't exist.
But AJ Styles is allowed to keep his name, and so is Austin Aries. I mean, they already have an Austin Aries shirt out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you the regular fan of WWE nowadays they don't really look outside of WWE. I mean, yes, you have the internet, and yes, you have ways of streaming and YouTube, but if you are just interested in this one little cookie-cutter organization, you have no idea what else is out there.
I think that comes with the PG child territory.
Oh, of course.
But people like us who watch wrestling, and there's a lot of us who've been watching all these other... That's why Triple H is starting to pick all these guys out.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knows we're watching.
Mm-hmm. And Triple H is smart on that.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, unfortunately...
Vince McMahon is pushing Roman Reigns, Rybacks, the Cenas and Ortons still.
Which I get, you got to push some of your own talent, which you find, which was done. TNA did that. WCW did that maybe once or maybe twice with Sting and Goldberg. But you can't go out and steal that much talent because after a while, the ship gets too heavy and it starts sinking. You got to let people go.
The thing is, we're in an age now where they're going to have to kind of change because we're in a social media age. And now the fans, after what happened with Daniel Bryan, know they have a voice.
Oh, yeah. And if you're a wrestling fan, not just a WWE fan, a wrestling fan, and you had the opportunity to actually see some of this other organizations out there, like Ring of Honor, TNA when it was at its heyday, even independent wrestling, it's a lot different than watching WWE. You're not seeing the backstage segments, the goofy comedy acts every 5 minutes. You're actually seeing guys who can go in that ring, put on a show, and leave you entertained, wanting to see more. And if WWE is starting to see they're losing out. You've seen that the ratings have gone down. Buy-ups for pay-per-views have been low. Even people have been canceling the network.
You remember last year when they all wanted to cancel after the Royal Rumble?
Mm-hmm. So WWE is starting to listen. I honestly, I don't think it's much of Vince is saying. I think you're right. I think it's more Triple H. But
when do you ever remember a time where at the last second they had to change a storyline? I mean, no one knew about Undertaker Brock Lesnar until right before the match.
Mm-hmm.
What about the main event last year? They didn't decide that until halfway through that Seth Rollins was going to be champion.
Yep. And that's the problem with the internet nowadays, because so many people are breaking story. Backstage, so-and-so is backstage. Backstage, this was being said by this person and that person. And then people can comment and get upset and retweet and repost and leave comments. And unfortunately, it's not how it used to be. For WWE, it's not to their advantage because there's no surprise anymore.
I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt with these recent signings that they have some plan or something big coming. I would
agree. And from what I think will happen, you have these big signings. Eventually, you're going to have a few more guys from NXT moving up. And you're going to start some sort of faction or rebellion, I'm hoping, and it's going to be huge. And if I'm Triple H, I'm banking on this 150%, and I'm planning to push this huge and hard, and if I have to, I'm steamrolling over Vince's ideas.
Yeah, and it's kind of, Vince McMahon's got to take that role and just... I know it's about making money and what's best for business, but, sometimes you just got to listen and listen to what the crowd's saying because, Triple H is not bringing in these guys for nothing. He's stealing away some of the best talent in wrestling. Nakamura and AJ Styles, before they were signed, the week before they were signed at Wrestle Kingdom 10, had maybe the match of the year.